In the final, choking days of the Third Reich, as Berlin burned and the regime collapsed into ash, a darker story began, one of vanished leaders, forged identities, and escape routes that still defy belief today. May 1945, Bavaria and the Alpine borderlands, where the remnants of Nazi command scattered into forests, mountain passes, and shattered towns. This story follows several senior Nazi leaders whose reputations were carved into the darkest chapters of the 20th century. SS officers, party administrators, and military commanders who shaped the machinery of terror. Men like Heinrich Müller, the elusive Gestapo chief, Franz Stangl, the camp commandant, and countless mid-level officials who sustained the regime's brutality. Once symbols of absolute power, they became fugitives overnight the moment Hitler's regime fell. Their significance lies not only in the crimes they committed but in what happened next, how many of them slipped through the Allied net, how far they went to survive, and how their disappearances fueled decades of suspicion. Most of these men had risen through the ranks during the tumultuous years following Germany's defeat in World War I. Economic collapse, political violence, and national humiliation shaped them. Many joined the Nazi movement early, drawn by promises of restored pride and rigid ideological order. They trained within the expanding organs of state security, police academies, SS leadership schools, and party networks that fused ideology with discipline. Their personalities often blended calculated obedience with an unwavering belief in the regime's mission. By the late 1930s, they commanded files, prisons, or entire regions, their authority unquestioned. Their ascent was meteoric, tied to Hitler's consolidation of total power. And when war erupted, these men became enforcers of occupation policies, intelligence operations, and brutal suppression. They belonged to a system that rewarded loyalty and punished hesitation, leaving them deeply entwined with crimes so vast that escape became their only imagined future as the Reich crumbled. During the war, these leaders oversaw operations across occupied Europe, hunting resistance cells, enforcing racial laws, transporting prisoners, and feeding the relentless security apparatus. In smoky command rooms filled with crackling radio static, they issued orders that reshaped cities and condemned thousands. Some inspected camps at dawn, walking past barbed wire as guards snapped to attention. Others traveled by armored car through rain-soaked streets in Warsaw, Rotterdam, or Kiev, reviewing deportations or interrogations. Their authority extended into every corner of the Reich's occupied territories. Even as Allied bombers droned overhead and front lines collapsed, they clung to their roles, sending desperate messages through failing communication lines, trying to maintain order where none remained. In the final months, rubble and fire framed their last acts, burning documents, redeploying exhausted units, or ordering doomed counterattacks. They sensed the encroaching end, yet many believed they could negotiate survival or vanish into the chaos. Their wartime roles made them indispensable to the regime, and prime targets when the Allies finally breached Germany's defenses. The turning point came in April 1945, when reports spread through command centers that Berlin itself was encircled. Senior officials watched maps covered with red arrows pushing relentlessly west. When Hitler issued his final, incoherent orders, many realized salvation lay not in loyalty, but disappearance. Some fled their posts at night, slipping into forests or joining columns of refugees. Others attempted to destroy incriminating archives as Soviet artillery thundered in the distance. Rumors of Alpine redoubts and last-stand fortresses evaporated quickly, leaving these men exposed. By the time the Reich surrendered, entire chains of command had dissolved. And in the vacuum, improvised plans emerged, false papers, sympathetic contacts, and escape routes whispered only in coded phrases. What happened next would shock the world for decades. A significant number of Nazi leaders, not only soldiers or minor officials, but high-ranking architects of the regime, successfully escaped. They exploited a clandestine network later known as the Ratlines, a web of priests, ex-SS men, smugglers, and foreign sympathizers that moved fugitives south toward Italy, then across the sea to South America or the Middle East. Some, like Stangl, walked openly in borrowed clerical clothing through Italian towns untouched by Allied patrols. Others hid in monasteries or safe houses, meticulously coached on new identities. Forged passports stamped by unsuspecting or complicit officials allowed them to board ships departing Genoa or Rome. Müller, the feared Gestapo chief, vanished entirely, leaving no confirmed trace, sparking endless theories. These escapes mattered because they exposed how incomplete the Allied pursuit truly was, how chaos, bureaucracy, and political tension allowed notorious figures to slip away. When the truth emerged years later, the world was stunned to discover that men responsible for mass atrocities had lived quietly as factory workers, police trainers, or landowners continents away. Their survival not only delayed justice, it ignited one of the largest manhunts in modern history. In the immediate aftermath, Allied investigators found empty offices, burned records, and abandoned uniforms. Interrogations revealed fragments of escape routes, but many trails went cold in the ruins of post-war Europe. Some fugitives were eventually captured, dragged from distant farms or foreign suburbs after years of tracking. Others died anonymously, buried under false names. Yet a portion of these leaders lived quietly until old age, never fully answering for their crimes. For families of victims and for historians, the aftermath remained bitter. Justice had been delivered unevenly, overshadowed by the speed and precision with which some perpetrators disappeared. Conflicting reports plagued investigators for decades. Intelligence files referenced sightings in Cairo, Damascus, Buenos Aires. Witnesses claimed to have seen Müller in Prague, then in South America. Some documents were sealed, others lost or deliberately obscured during Cold War realignments. Later discoveries, hidden diaries, declassified intelligence memos, and excavated remains, confirmed some stories while deepening the uncertainty around others. These mysteries continue to fuel speculation about who aided the escapes and why certain files remain incomplete. Today, historians see these escapes as a stark reminder that the fall of a regime does not guarantee instant justice. The Ratlines revealed cracks in post-war systems and exposed the enduring reach of clandestine networks. Their legacy is one of caution. Even in defeat, power can find new shadows to hide within. The world still studies these disappearances, not to admire them, but to ensure their lessons are never forgotten.